Imagine, for a moment, a single business deal so transformative that it could redefine the fight against one of the fastest-growing health crises on the planet, and, in the process, reshape the global biotech industry for decades to come. At the center of this potential revolution stands a South Korean company that, until recently, operated largely under the radar, Aptabio. Now, Aptabio is locked in advanced, high-stakes negotiations with pharmaceutical titan GlaxoSmithKline, or GSK. The agreement on the table isn't just about patents or profits. It could deliver a drug that attacks kidney diseases in ways no existing therapy can match. But as headlines swirl, the true stakes, risks, and ambitions behind this drama are far grander and more complex than they first appear. Let's lay down the foundation. Kidney disease is a silent, relentless epidemic that claims more victims every year. According to the latest estimates, the number of people living with chronic kidney disease globally now exceeds 850 million more than the combined populations of the European Union and Russia. Chronic kidney disease is often called a silent killer because, in its early stages, it produces few symptoms, creeping up on patients until irreversible damage has been done. By the end of this decade, the chronic kidney disease market alone is projected to reach beyond $100 billion US. Acute kidney injury, an abrupt and often fatal complication, is also surging, with its treatment market expected to surpass $8 billion US by the year 2035. These figures are not just accounting statistics. They represent lives upended, families devastated, and healthcare systems buckling under enormous pressure. For patients, the journey is grim. Current treatments for chronic and acute kidney problems are invasive, expensive, and frequently offer little more than a temporary reprieve. Dialysis, for instance, is a life-extending but exhausting and time-consuming process, often requiring patients to spend hours, multiple times each week, hooked up to a machine. Kidney transplantation, while life-saving, is limited by organ shortages and comes with lifelong risks. Medications available today often do little more than stabilize symptoms or slow progression, rarely offering a true cure. This is the stark reality millions face, which is why the emergence of a potential new therapy, APX115, is sending shockwaves across the medical world. Developed after years of research by Aptabio's scientists, APX115 is designed not only to target diabetic kidney disease, the single leading cause of kidney failure internationally, but also to address contrast-induced acute kidney injury. This latter condition is a little-known but serious risk, arising as a complication from the contrast dyes used in everyday diagnostic imaging scans, such as CTs and MRIs. Speaking candidly to South Korea's Hankyoung TV, CEO Lee Soo-jin declared, "A PX115 may be the world's first new drug capable of treating aspects of kidney disease that existing therapies can't address." This is not empty hype. It reflects a genuine hope that a new class of treatment could finally break the decades-long stagnation in nephrology drug innovation. What makes this deal even more intriguing is the context. The global nephrology drugs market is ravenous for breakthroughs. According to projections from respected market research firms, by the year 2034, the sector is expected to be worth more than $30 billion US, growing at an annual rate exceeding 5%. The number of people at risk, driven by rising rates of diabetes, hypertension, obesity, and aging populations, is climbing faster than ever before. On the business side, Aptabio has endured 6 consecutive years of operating losses, making financial survival increasingly urgent. For Aptabio, a successful deal with GSK is more than a commercial opportunity. It is a lifeline, a shot at survival, and a passport to the upper echelons of global biotech. GSK, meanwhile, is reinventing itself. Once known primarily for vaccines and antibiotics, it is aggressively expanding its portfolio, hunting for the next blockbuster drug as old patents expire and competition intensifies. But here's where the story deepens. A PX115 is currently in Phase 2 clinical trials, a critical but perilous stage. In the world of drug development, the wasteland of failed therapies is littered with promising molecules that stumbled in Phase 2. Of every 100 compounds that enter clinical development, only about 10 make it to market, and even fewer become true commercial successes. The reasons for failure are myriad: regulatory hurdles, unexpected side effects, lack of efficacy, or simply bad luck in patient recruitment. Clinical trials are expensive, slow, and fraught with uncertainty. Investors and pharmaceutical giants are often forced to gamble hundreds of millions, or even billions, on drugs that could be derailed by a single adverse event. GSK's reported offer is to license both major uses of the drug diabetic kidney disease and contrast-induced acute kidney injury in a bundled deal. This is an unusual and strategic move, designed to secure maximum value and potentially outmaneuver competitors. Industry insiders are abuzz with rumors that other top-tier pharmaceutical powerhouses, including those ranked among the world's top 3, may try to outbid GSK if the clinical data is especially compelling. But the flip side is equally possible. If Phase 2 results disappoint, or if a rival therapy reaches the market first, the value of APX115 could plummet, setting back Aptabio's ambitions by years. To understand how high the stakes are, consider Aptabio's recent history. In 2015, the company licensed a promising pancreatic cancer drug candidate, Apta-12, to a United States-based partner, Hope Biosciences. That deal ultimately fell apart when Hope Biosciences entered liquidation in 2021, forcing Aptabio to regain the drug rights and write off years of effort. Since its public listing on the Nasdaq exchange in 2019, Aptabio has struggled to land its first major international out-licensing agreement. A successful deal with GSK would not only validate its science, but also signal to global investors that South Korea's biotech sector can play on the world stage. Meanwhile, GSK is pursuing a broader strategy. Over the last 5 years, GSK has reshaped its portfolio through calculated acquisitions and licensing deals in vaccines, neurodegenerative disease, liver disease, and now nephrology. Its leaders know that the next decade of growth will be defined by innovation in areas like metabolic disorders and rare diseases, categories where small biotech firms like Aptabio often excel. For GSK, securing APX115 is about more than a single drug. It is about building a pipeline of next-generation therapies that can fend off the likes of AstraZeneca and Novo Nordisk, both of which are rapidly expanding their presence in kidney disease treatment. Let's dig deeper into the science and the market forces at play. Chronic kidney disease, or CKD, develops when the kidneys are gradually damaged over time, often due to diabetes or hypertension. The condition can progress silently for years, only revealing itself when the damage is severe. Acute kidney injury, or AKI, on the other hand, strikes suddenly, often following surgery, infection, or exposure to toxic substances, including the contrast agents used in medical imaging. The global AKI treatment market is projected to jump from about $5 billion in 2025 to over $8 billion by 2035, with a rising tide of hospitalizations and intensive care admissions driving demand. The dialysis market, closely tied to kidney failure, is also booming. By 2030, global spending on dialysis equipment is expected to reach nearly $28 billion. The broader dialysis services and equipment sector could rise from just under $100 billion in 2024 to almost $160 billion by 2034. Yet, for all this spending, patient outcomes remain poor. Dialysis is not a cure. It is a costly, grueling lifeline. The world needs new solutions. This is why APX115 has attracted such intense interest. Early studies have shown the drug can reduce inflammation and fibrosis, two key drivers of kidney damage, in both diabetic kidney disease and contrast-induced acute kidney injury. The mechanism is based on targeting oxidative stress pathways and modulating cellular responses that underlie kidney cell injury. While still in development, this dual-action approach positions APX115 as a potential game-changer, capable of addressing both the chronic and acute ends of the kidney disease spectrum. But clinical development is never a straight path. Even if Phase 2 results are encouraging, APX115 must still navigate the treacherous terrain of multi-country Phase 3 trials, where sample sizes are larger, patient populations are more diverse, and regulatory scrutiny is intense. As biotech expert Dr. Minjong Kim remarked at the recent Boston International Biotech Convention, it's not just about proving efficacy, it's about surviving the regulatory gauntlet, managing safety risks, and demonstrating real-world value to payers and providers. Even a single, unexpected side effect can derail years of work. For GSK, the calculus is equally complex. The company is betting that the risk is worth the potential reward. With the global nephrology drugs market set to more than double in value within a single decade, the upside is enormous. But GSK must also fend off competition from heavyweights like AstraZeneca, whose sodium glucose co-transporter, 2 inhibitors, have already made inroads into the kidney disease market, and Novo Nordisk, which is leveraging its diabetes expertise to attack kidney complications from another angle. Should APX115 succeed, it could become a flagship product, driving billions in revenue for GSK and potentially igniting a wave of mergers, acquisitions, and investment across the biotech sector. Yet, even if APX115 is approved and launched, dominance is not assured. The nephrology field is notoriously complex, with patient needs evolving and new science emerging constantly. As one analyst noted, this is a marathon, not a sprint. The first to reach the market may not be the last one standing. History offers plenty of cautionary tales. Drugs that seemed inevitable winners, only to be eclipsed by newer, better therapies a few years later. For patients and their families, the stakes are deeply personal. Diabetic kidney disease is now the leading cause of kidney failure, accounting for nearly half of all cases worldwide. The condition often leads to a grim choice: years of dialysis or a risky organ transplant. Contrast-induced acute kidney injury, while less well known, can trigger sudden, life-threatening complications following routine diagnostic procedures. Current therapies for both conditions are limited, often focused on supportive care rather than true disease modification. A novel, effective treatment like APX115 could offer hope to millions, reducing the need for dialysis, lowering healthcare costs, and, most importantly, saving lives. Hospitals, doctors, and insurance companies are watching closely, eager for more effective, less expensive options that can fundamentally change patient outcomes. From a broader perspective, this high-stakes drama reveals hard truths about global drug development. The race for medical innovation has never been faster, more competitive, or more interconnected. Licensing deals, such as the one between Aptabio and GSK, can bring breakthrough discoveries from small, nimble research teams to patients worldwide in record time, sidestepping the traditional, slower model where only giant companies could afford to commercialize new treatments. But every deal is a gamble. For every blockbuster drug, there are dozens of failures, and the line between success and disappointment is razor thin. So what lessons can investors, policymakers, and everyday observers draw from Aptabio's journey? First, headline numbers rarely tell the whole story. It's essential to look beyond market projections and focus on the underlying science, the rigor of clinical trial design, and the quality of regulatory feedback. Drug development is not a straight line. It is a winding marathon, with setbacks and surprises at every turn. The companies that succeed are those that can adapt quickly, learn from failure, and seize opportunities for new collaborations. For patients, families, and caregivers touched by kidney disease, hope is on the horizon. But it must be tempered with realism. The promise of new therapies is exciting, but each must prove itself not only in controlled clinical settings, but also in the unpredictable conditions of real-world practice. Patients are encouraged to talk with their healthcare providers about clinical trial opportunities, stay informed about advances in kidney disease management, and connect with patient advocacy groups to share experiences and access the latest information. Let's not forget the even bigger picture. Chronic kidney disease and acute kidney injury are part of a broader constellation of metabolic and vascular disorders linked to the global rise in diabetes and obesity. As societies age and lifestyles change, the burden of these interconnected diseases will only grow. The World Health Organization warns that, by the middle of this century, non-communicable diseases, including kidney disease, will account for over 3/4 of all deaths worldwide. Addressing kidney disease is not just a medical challenge, it is an economic and social imperative, with implications for productivity, healthcare spending, and even national security. There are also lessons to be drawn from history. The story of statins, cholesterol-lowering drugs that revolutionized cardiovascular care in the 1980s, shows how a single class of medication can transform an entire field, saving millions of lives and spawning a wave of innovation. But it also reminds us that scientific revolutions are rarely linear. Early statins faced skepticism, regulatory hurdles, and fierce competition. Only sustained investment, rigorous science, and collaboration across borders brought them to widespread use. The path for APX115 and for kidney disease innovation more broadly will almost certainly follow a similar pattern, a mix of breakthroughs, setbacks, and gradual progress. What happens if the Aptabio-GSK deal falls through? For Aptabio, the consequences could be dire. Years of operating losses have left the company with little margin for error. A failed deal, or disappointing clinical data, could force layoffs, asset sales, or even bankruptcy. GSK, while far larger, also faces risks: lost time, sunk costs, and the opportunity for rivals to leapfrog with competing therapies. On the flip side, if APX115 succeeds in Phase 3 trials and wins regulatory approval, the rewards could be immense, not just financially, but in terms of reputation, scientific leadership, and, most importantly, impact on global health. The ripple effects could be profound. Success would likely spark new investment into kidney disease research, attract fresh talent to the field, and encourage other biotech startups to pursue high-risk, high-reward therapies. It could also accelerate the adoption of new business models, where large pharma companies partner earlier and more flexibly with innovative startups. In the long term, this could speed up the delivery of new treatments for a range of diseases, not just kidney conditions, but also metabolic, cardiovascular, and even neurodegenerative disorders. And here's a secret few outside the industry know. While the spotlight shines on kidney disease, Aptabio is quietly developing 2 preclinical candidates targeting diabetic macular edema, a leading cause of vision loss among people with diabetes. Both programs, codenamed ABF101 and ABF103, have attracted the attention of major pharmaceutical players, with confidentiality agreements signed at the recent Boston Biotech Convention. These next-generation therapies, one an oral pill, the other an eye drop, named to provide more convenient, less invasive alternatives to current injection-based treatments, while also targeting new biological pathways to reduce inflammation and scarring in the retina. If successful, they could expand Aptabio's impact well beyond nephrology, reshaping fields as diverse as ophthalmology and endocrinology. The global market for diabetic eye disease therapies is itself enormous, expected to reach tens of billions of United States dollars within the next decade. Millions of people worldwide suffer from diabetic macular edema, with existing treatments often costly, uncomfortable, and only partially effective. Aptabio's innovations in this space reflect a broader trend in biotech, the move toward precision medicine, non-invasive delivery systems, and therapies that address the root causes of disease, not just the symptoms. For investors watching from the sidelines, this is a story about risk and opportunity in equal measure. The world of biotech is not for the faint of heart. It requires patience, deep pockets, and a willingness to embrace uncertainty. But the rewards, both financial and humanitarian, can be extraordinary. The next blockbuster drug could come from a small lab in Seoul, a university spin-off in Boston, or a startup in Bangalore. The future is wide open. As we wrap up, here's what you should watch for in the coming months. First, keep an eye on the release of Aptabio's Phase 2 clinical data. Positive results could trigger a bidding war among pharmaceutical giants, catapulting the company to global prominence. Regulatory feedback, especially from agencies like the United States Food and Drug Administration, will be crucial. Delays, additional study requirements, or safety concerns could shift the landscape overnight. Watch also for news on Aptabio's diabetic eye disease programs, which could signal a broader strategy to diversify beyond kidneys. Finally, for patients, families, and advocates, the message is one of cautious optimism. New therapies are on the horizon, but science takes time. Stay informed, ask questions, and participate in patient communities. The fight against kidney disease and related conditions will not be won overnight, but with sustained investment, global collaboration, and a willingness to embrace new ideas, the odds of victory grow stronger every day. So, as negotiations between Aptabio and GSK reach a fever pitch and the biotech world holds its breath, one question remains. Will APX115 deliver the breakthrough everyone hopes for, or will the dream falter on the hard rocks of clinical reality? The answer is still unwritten, but one thing is certain. The race to conquer kidney disease is entering a bold new phase, with consequences that will echo across continents and generations. And remember, if you want to stay ahead of these seismic global shifts in biotech and economics, make sure you subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell, and tell us in the comments below. Do you believe APX115 will make it to market, or will the next big breakthrough come from somewhere in